You are Locked On Clippers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, welcome into the Clippers POSTCAST on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA for ESPN Radio and NBC Sports Radio since 2007. Today's episode of Locked On Clippers POSTCAST is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, that was quite a game for the Clippers and Nets, a matinee in downtown LA at Crypto.com Arena. It was really the tale of three quarters and then the fourth quarter. In the event you did not catch any of it and are just joining us here on Locked On Clippers POSTCAST, the Clippers make a heroic comeback in the fourth quarter to beat the Nets, who are just pushing them all around Crypto for three quarters. Clippers rallied big time in the fourth to win it 125-114. It was definitely a game that we kind of saw coming. The experts kind of predicted this. It was not a surprise that the Clippers were going to come out in this game and be very rusty, as they were off for 4 days with no basketball for 3 of those 4 days. They were just having fun and relaxing, visiting with family, healing, etc., not practicing. And they practiced, I guess, yesterday to get ready for tonight's game. So it seems like it was, 2 days ago, that first quarter, when they were down 16-0. The Nets came out and went on a 16-0 run. The Clippers could not make anything. Couldn't make layups, couldn't make jumpers, couldn't make threes. It was just like, yeah, well, I guess it figures, right? They're riding a 6-game home winning streak, and they were 10.5-point favorites coming into this game. So I guess the experts felt that they would dominate. So if you had the Clippers to win this game by 10.5, you lost. In spite of you won by a half. My bad. Never been great at the math. But yes, 125-114 is an 11-point victory. So kudos to you on a brave pick there, coming off 4 days off. Another stat that was slapping us in the face right when this game started, that Brian Seaman and Rashawn Haylock on the sideline shared with us, is that teams, not just the Clippers, any team in the NBA that has been off for 4 days or more this season, they are 1-7. So only one team has won. Now call it 2-7 because the Clippers did get the win, but it was it was at one point in time, we kind of felt like down 18 in the third quarter, that this one was over and they were just going to chalk it up to the break, lick their wounds, try and learn some lessons from it, come back and win it, or come back and play again on Tuesday against the Lakers with a different sense of urgency and an attitude that was definitely different than today. And I do want to say that it wasn't about a bad attitude, and mainly Russell Westbrook and his energy, as we've talked about a lot lately, kept them in this game. He had a very energetic performance, as he always does, but was battling on defense a lot. And when everyone else on the team could not do anything right, Russell Westbrook was making shots. And in 31 minutes, he went 10 for 16 and scored 23 points. So a big night for them. And without him, they definitely would have had no shot in this game and would not have won. So kudos to him once again. Some of the other stuff coming into the game against the Nets that we looked at, statistically speaking, that were interesting numbers that they shared before the game that I was surprised to hear and see. And I was also encouraged by the numbers. When the Clippers have 25 or more assists in a game, they are 19-5. And of course, we talk a lot about James Harden and his ability to share the ball. When he's passing the ball, the Clippers are doing well. Tonight, James Harden, another big night, sharing the ball, 10 assists, and he had 24 points as well. So he was another huge part of the reason that the Clippers were able to maintain through some very, very off cold shooting for 3 quarters and hold on and win this game rather comfortably. The Nets coming into this one were coming off a 130-112 win over the Lakers at Crypto, where their bench scored 59 points. So they were fired up. They were hot. And tonight, really, for 3 quarters, did not miss much. They were just burying them all over the place. And every time the Clippers would make a run, the Nets would answer. At the end of the first quarter, the Nets led by only 3, though. So the Clippers did make a nice run there in the first quarter. After they were down 16-0, they went on a 10-0 run and drew to within 3. It was 27-24 at the end of the first quarter. And the Nets shot 41%. And the Clippers kind of got it rolling right at the very end, as they always do. Typically, they get hot right at the end of the quarters. And I think that's something, globally speaking, for this team that you have to be really happy about and feel very confident about, that early in the quarter, if they're not shooting well, they do not give up. They do not hang their heads. They do not feel bad about themselves. They just keep plugging away. So when the first quarter was all said and done, Clippers shot 36%. So they kept right in there with the Nets, who were burying them from all over the place. And it wasn't just one guy for the Nets. They had a bunch of hot shooters on this team today. Mikal Bridges had 26 points. Claxton was 16. Dinwiddie, Southern California native, also had 16. And then off the bench, Cam Thomas, who had the big night against the Lakers with 33. He had 20 points in 27 minutes, including 1 3. So they kind of spread it around. They're not a bad team. They just maybe a little inexperienced at 17 and 25. They're going through a funk right now for sure, though. Coming into this one, they had lost 2 of 10, whereas the Clippers were on the inverse of that, having won 8 of their last 10 and now improved to 19 and 4, dating back to that all-important December 1st date when things really started rolling for the Clippers. So we'll take a break. When we come back for our second segment, we will get into our bucket list, which obviously is heavily weighted in the fourth quarter. Wasn't much going on early for them other than Russell Westbrook making free throws and battling under the net. They made a lot of points in the paint in the first quarter there that kept them, or in the first half rather, that kept them in the game, although in the game was down by 10. We'll get into the details right after this. All right, let's talk a little bit more about LinkedIn Jobs right after I share this with you. All right, at the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one thing I can do, one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools that help you find the right professionals for your team faster and free. My wife and I are co-owners of a small little family-owned pottery business, where we make the pots and we do all sorts of different classes with clay, whether it's hand building or on the wheel and whatnot. And we've had to hire some people. In the beginning, we didn't think we would need to. We thought we could just run it with the family. But as things have started to grow, we definitely have needed some people, and we've had good luck finding people, experienced people on LinkedIn Jobs. And my wife also gets a ton in her real job, she gets a ton of offers and a ton of interest and communication from LinkedIn Jobs. She's had great success with it. So it's definitely an effective tool for finding employees. And if you are an employee and you need a new job, a new situation, you can use that as well. LinkedIn Jobs isn't just another job board. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire people for your small business or your company. Post your job for free on linkedinjobs.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Clippers with a heroic come-from-behind win. Is it a heroic or an heroic? I think it's an heroic. So let me rephrase. Clippers with I said it again. Clippers with an heroic come-from-behind fourth quarter rally over the Brooklyn Nets, 125-114. As I mentioned, the Brooklyn Nets were shooting lights out from beyond the arc. But at the end of the night, when it was all said and done, they made 14 threes for 35%. From the floor, they were better. 44 of 90 for 48%. As for the Clippers numbers, they ended up prevailing statistically as well, shooting 50% from the floor and 50% from beyond the arc, 13 of 26. Superlatives, which we'll do in the third segment, was late to come together because I couldn't find anybody to praise in this game. And then right at the very end, everybody started getting hot. So it's kind of an interesting, a little different version of superlatives tonight, but we'll do that on the third segment. Right now, we're going to get into bucket list, where we go through the big buckets of the night for the Clippers. And of course, in the fourth quarter, they got rolling. They went on a 22-0 run there. And Paul George was a big part of it, hitting a three at the 5:15 mark of the fourth quarter to make it 114-106. This was where they started to roll and started to get the comeback going, narrowing the deficit. Kawhi Leonard with a dunk at the 4:36 mark. That made it 114-108. That was part of a 27-10 run. Then Kawhi had a couple of baskets in a row under 3 minutes. At 2:48, he had a 2 to make it a 1-point ball game. Then he had a big 3 at the 1:06 mark, which put the Clippers ahead by 6 at that point. It was 120-114, and this is when the crowd at Crypto.com was just going absolute bonkers. Powell had a huge dunk at the 54-second mark to make it 122-114, and then Kawhi with another 3 just under 30 seconds, 29.2. That'd be the final basket of the afternoon, 125-114, a 22-0 run. Other big baskets in the quarter. Harden had a 3 earlier in the fourth at the 9:33 mark. That made it an 11-point game, 104-93. Then Westbrook, who was battling, as I mentioned, he just had this look of determination on his face, and his energy was standard. It was typical, but was definitely more effective getting to the hoop and penetrating the rack than he usually is. Obviously, his shooting skills of late have been hit or miss. When he's on, he's good. He can fill it up, as he did today, 10 of 16. But there are other times that the only way he can score is under the hoop. And then there's also been times when he can't make a layup to save his life. So today, fortunately, he was doing both very efficiently, but got fouled at the 9:16 mark and made 1 of 2 free throws. That made it a 10-point ball game. Then Harden hit 3 free throws after getting fouled beyond the arc. That was at the 8:07 mark to make it 106-97. So when you get it under that 10-point deficit, felt like they got some energy and it got them rolling. And then a beautiful assist from James Harden to Daniel Tice for a dunk. That was at the 7:15 mark. That also narrowed the gap a little bit more. That made it 108-101. So that point, they get it to 7 points. And from there, it was kind of like the Nets were reeling. They didn't really know what to do. So you look back at the game prior to the Clippers getting hot, first half. As I said, they kept battling. They never really let it get out of reach. And part of the way they did that was in the third quarter, just making free throws. The Nets kept fouling them, and they kept getting to the line and making the free throws. So that was a huge part of the reason the Clippers did not get blown out. So just kind of staying within striking distance the whole time. And as a Nets fan, you probably had to feel, with the ability this team has to fill it up and the ability the Clippers have to score, that the fact that they couldn't get to the finish line and put their foot on the throat of the Clippers was not going to be good for them when it was all said and done. In the first quarter, though, Terrence Mann kept them in it, got the scoring started for the Clippers when they were down 16-0. He hit a 3 at the 7:21 mark of the first quarter. Then he hit another 3 on the next possession at the 6:42 mark. That made it a 10-point game, 16-6. And then Terrence Mann at the 3:46 mark had a bucket and the foul, made the end one, and that tied the game at 18. So as usual, Terrence Mann finding ways to contribute, helping out the team. In 26 minutes, only missed 2 shots. He was 4 of 6. Those 2 threes were his only 2, but he had 13 on the night. In the second, Coffey, his first shot of the day, a corner 3 went in at the 11:23 mark. That made it a 1-point ball game. Clippers down 27-28. Paul George's first bucket, 2-pointer at the 7:27 mark. Another slow start for Paul George. Nothing in the first, and just 2 points to the 7:27 mark. All said and done in the first half for Paul George. Where are those numbers? I wrote those numbers down somewhere. They, all in single digits in the first quarter for the Clippers, the big scorers, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden. They didn't really have much going at all in the first quarter, but they, again, hung in there, kept things close enough. Here it is. Paul George had 4 in the first half, Kawhi 7 in the first half, and James Harden had 9. But he was a relatively inefficient day for him. But when it was over and done with, he had 24 points, and that's really all that matters. So back to the second, Coffee hit his first shot at the 11:23 mark. Then Paul George's first bucket at the 7:27 mark. That made it 42-31. Then Harden had a 3 to make it 45-35. So another 10-point deficit for the Clippers. Then Paul George a dunk at the 2:54 mark. They're down 12 at that point. Then Kawhi Leonard, his first field goal. He had only made free throws up until that point in the first half. That made it 10 points again. And then Kawhi Leonard, another field goal for a sub 10-point deficit for the Clippers, down 57-49 at that point. That was under a minute in the first half to go for them. So they hung right around. At the halftime, though, it was 61-49 Nets. And you had to feel pretty confident if you were a Nets fan at that point. But I just kept thinking, if they can keep hanging around. Brian Seaman likes to say the term, dig it out of the dirt. Is this one they can dig out of the dirt? Yes, indeed. And that just is a confident, good feeling for Clippers fans. So we'll get into superlatives and put a bow on this one. A come from behind matinee win for the Clippers at crypto.com, 125-114. We'll do superlatives right after this. All right, let's talk about BetterHelp. A couple of things to get into here in this break. BetterHelp is, I got to do this first. Hold on, where's that thing? Hold on, stand by for the BetterHelp overlay. Boom. Well, as the new year is here, we feel compelled to come up with a resolution or 3 ways to change or improve ourselves. Well, how about we just focus on the things we are already doing well and improve on those things rather than come up with resolutions? Therapy helps you find the strengths that you're already doing well, and you don't have to worry about extreme resolutions. You can ditch all of that stuff and just make changes that will really stick with you, and that will be effective for a long period of time, and maybe answer a question for you about something you're dealing with personally. I know myself, the times that I've gone through therapy, I've had issues with specific things. And it was always helpful and nice to have a trained professional kind of explain to me what was happening or why I was behaving the way I was or how to deal with that frustration. So things that, are seemingly complicated to you might be simple to a professional, and they might help you understand it a little bit better and then be able to deal with it. I know the last time I did, it wasn't too long ago. My therapist that I used through BetterHelp was very helpful. He would explain things to me in a very simple way. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And having done it both online and in person, they're both very similar. So don't feel like online is different or less personal or like you're talking on the phone. When you're doing it on a video chat, it works almost identically to being there in the same room with the therapist. So celebrate the progress you have already made. Answer questions you have about yourself. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to give 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. Now that the NFL is in the playoffs, big playoff games every weekend heading up to the Super Bowl, go to FanDuel.com and you'll get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's so huge. The feeling that you can place a wager, place a bet, and not lose because it's free money from FanDuel, it's huge. And the app's so easy to use. It's so well designed. There's so many different ways to bet. Like you can do same game parlays. You can find all sorts of different parlays in the parlay tab. There's a new explore tab and a whole lot more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA and make your first bet a layup. So FanDuel.com/locked-on. Sorry, FanDuel.com/locked-on. It's the official partner of the NFL. All right, our third segment in a Clippers come from behind win, trailing by as many as 18. They win it 125-114, sharing the ball, scoring when they, seemingly got a run going. They didn't have, aside from that first run in the first quarter when they went up, were down 16-0, and they went on a 10-0 run. They couldn't get another run going to save their lives. So they kind of maybe saved their energy. Obviously they had plenty of it because they were off for 4 days, but I guess you should be a little bit worried that the rust was such a factor and it took them so long to get going. At the same time, you should feel really good as a Clipper fan that they were able to shake the rust and get back into this one. That to me is the thing. Every time that the Clippers have been down in a game or faced adversity, they've always figured out a way to come out of it. And I think that resilience is something that will benefit them very well moving forward for the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs because, things happen, whether it's injuries, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. I always feel bad saying that because I don't want to put a broadcaster's jinx on them, but things happen. You're off for 4 days, resting up for a very lengthy road trip. The Grammy trip is coming up. And that's always tough. And they're playing some good teams on this road trip, like the Boston Celtics on a back-to-back. So what's coming up for them is nothing too easy. So the time off is beneficial. And had they lost this game, you would have said, okay, no problem, no big deal. We're fine. Let's say they rallied and lose by 1 or 2. You still feel good about the way they played because they were down for 3 quarters and it wasn't pretty. They were missing everything. I mean, it was fortunately, I watch basketball games or professional sports in general. And I don't know, maybe it's my experience as a sports fan. I don't get too high or too low anymore. I used to get so upset, so frustrated, throwing things, cussing, I feel this angst inside, just this burning sensation. I don't feel that way anymore. I watch this game going, I don't know. I have a feeling they're going to come back. It's not over yet. And part of that is because of the players the Clippers have on their team. When you've got scores like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Terrence Mann, those guys, Norman Powell, had a big 3 in the fourth quarter. When you got scores like that are very efficient and clutch, they threw up some term about how clutch the Clippers are. And I was like, could you define clutch for me, please? I get it that they're clutch. I was going to write it down, but I'm like, I need more information. I need to know what you define as clutch. What is clutch? Like late in the quarter, down 10, what? Tell me more. I'm sure they have that info, but they didn't share it. So I didn't write it down. Point being, Clippers are clutch, right? When they need to be, they're clutch. So you feel good about that when they're down. They're going to make a run. They're going to get back into it. They're going to battle. They're going to fight. So I came away from this one thinking, I don't know. I kind of felt like that was going to happen. I'm not terribly surprised. Definitely fun. Definitely enjoyable to rally in the fourth quarter like that. It had to be extremely electric to be there in downtown in crypto. But all in all, you feel like, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's what we want. That's what we need. And, this team is very deep in spite of the absence of Ivica Zubac. In case you missed it, it's going to be out for about 4 weeks. They said that on Tuesday. So let's say 3.5 at this point. But with Daniel Tice and Mason Plumlee, feel pretty good about their underneath performance, their size under the hoop. But today, part of the reason they were able to rally in the fourth was they played with a small lineup. They had both of those guys, Tice and Plumlee, on the bench. They played a smaller lineup, and that worked for them. It also worked for them back on Tuesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's another thing you like to see, a team that can go small and still score, and they don't always need to dominate in the paint. So very versatile team. All in all, they can do just about everything they need to do. And when you see that they're cold, playing poorly, missing everything, free throws, layups, there was 2 or 3 layups by I think it was Kawhi Leonard, Paul George had one where it sat on the rim. 9 times out of 10, that ball rolls in. But today it rolled out, right? They just couldn't get a break until they needed it in the fourth quarter, which was huge for them. A 22-0 run to shake off all that rust. Now, Tuesday, they'll face the Lakers, whom they lost to a few weeks ago, first of the year, right around there. So they'll play them Tuesday as the home team there at Crypto. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. If you'll remember, that game was rather ugly. It was a mud fight for both teams, and the Clippers ended up losing it because the Lakers did a fantastic job of just making it an ugly game, and the Clippers, for whatever reason, just couldn't figure out how to rally and win that one like they did today. Again, 125-114. Let's do superlatives. Then we'll get into the box score and get out of here. So superlatives today. I don't know that this actually would ever show up in a yearbook, but I made this one up just for the sake of this game. The most determined player today in this ball game was Russell Westbrook. He had an energy that was a little bit above what we've seen from him of late. He also was able to fill it up and keep the Clippers in this game when they were out, when they were down by 12, 14, 18 points. Russell Westbrook just kept scoring. He did not see the scoreboard, seemingly. Played 31 minutes, had 23 points, going 10 of 16. He had 9 rebounds and 1 block shot and 6 assists. So he was doing a little bit of everything, just very, very determined and penetrating, kicking, drawing fouls, making life difficult for the Nets. And it worked out to the Clippers' benefit for them tremendously, because without him, they absolutely would have lost this game. So the most determined player tonight or today was Russell Westbrook. As for the most fun over the break, I came up with this one. The guy that just, really enjoyed himself maybe a little too much and had more rust than the rest was Kawhi Leonard for 3 quarters, because in the fourth quarter, Kawhi Leonard was also the best dressed, which was the player of the game for the Clippers. He played 37 minutes. He was 6 of 15, had a couple of threes and 21 points, but they were all clutch baskets for the Clippers down the stretch. Kawhi Leonard, both the guy who had the most fun over the break, had the most rust to shake off, and the best dressed. And I say that both as a player and as a dresser. He had these cool light blue shoes on, like sky blue, North Carolina blue, which I really liked. I was like, I'm going to find out what those are. Not that I can pull off, basketball sneaks, but I did like them. I thought he looked sharp. His shoes were cool. Westbrook had some cool shoes on tonight as well. That's one of the things about being a professional athlete that I'm envious of, the free sneakers. They just get free shoes, all over the place. They probably have new ones on every night, but tonight, both Kawhi and Russell Westbrook had new sneaks on that were very cool. So Kawhi gets acknowledgement in 2 categories. Most fun over the break, because he was rusty for 3 quarters more than the rest of them. He was also the best dressed in this one, both literally and figuratively, scoring huge buckets down the stretch for them, hitting 7 of 8 free throws and scoring 21 points. As for the rest of the box scores, Paul George played 36 minutes. He was 5 of 17. He had 2 threes and 12 points. Mason Plumlee, 15 minutes, 1 basket, 5 of 6 from the line. He was clutch as well. As I said, in the third quarter, they were just making free throws because the Nets were fouling them, and that kept them in it. So Mason Plumlee had some of those, 5 to be specific, for 7 points. James Harden, a pretty big day, 38 minutes. He was 6 of 11, had 3 threes, perfect from the line, including 3 in a row when he was fouled beyond the arc. He finished with 24, which included 10 assists. Terrence Mann played 26 minutes, had 13 points, going 4 of 6, including a couple of big threes in the first quarter. Daniel Tyson, 17 minutes, was 4 of 6 for 8 points. Russell Westbrook, as I said, 10 of 16 in 31 minutes. He had 23 points, including 9 rebounds and 6 assists. And Amir Coffey was perfect today, 2 of 2 in 15 minutes, had 1 3 and 5 points. And Norman Powell played 24 minutes, 4 of 7, a couple of threes for 12 points. Again, as the Clippers improve their record to 27-14 and are 19-4, dating back to December 1st, as they continue to rally and push their way up the Western Conference standings as they try to catch the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're off tomorrow, back at it on Tuesday at Crypto.com, again against the Lakers for the 3rd time this season. Thank you for joining me here. Again, thank you for watching us on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. We will check you on Tuesday. Have a good Sunday evening.